Hello, and welcome to another Northwest Self Storage webinar. It's October 2020. Today we're going to be discussing something a little new, and we're also going to be discussing something a little old that's becoming something a little new, and then we're just going to pepper in a couple of random kind of housekeeping things. So let's jump right in and just kind of go over the topics for today. So here's something a little new. Autopay, nothing new, but it is new if we consider it as part of the sales process. And we're going to show a tactic here that we want to implement going forward, and I'll give you the reasons behind it. We're going to explore the opportunities and the current issues that we have with our autopay process. The something a little old that's kind of becoming something a little new is the Lien process and the overview for Oregon. So as anyone in Oregon is aware, we've not been able to move forward with our Lien processes and late processes for quite a few months, and we're going to be restarting that as of now. We'll get into the details of restarting the process and just kind of the covering our bases, if you will. And then there'll be, again, I'll pepper in some kind of random housekeeping items that we're going to go through at the very end of all of this. So to make this as concise as possible, let's get started really quickly and just talk about autopay. So the discussion about autopay and the rental kind of making it part of the sales process came about by, we've known about this for quite some time actually, but it came about from a recent competitor shop that was done by our marketing guy, Garrett, at which point in time he signed up for a unit extra space storage and they signed him up for autopay. He wasn't even aware of it. He got home, realized it. The joke was, hey, I wasn't even mad about it. It was so smooth. That's a little different tactic than I think we want to take, because that's kind of deceitful in a way of just not even mentioning it. Or if it was mentioned, it was mentioned so slyly that he wasn't even aware. I think there's a way to do this that's going to be similar to that, but in a more honorable way, and we're also going to build value behind it, should there be any questions. So that's the reason for the push, but there's other reasons that we'll discuss as we get through this, because I have some kind of facts. So I'm going to use this as an example of what we're currently doing with some of our sales, to tie it back to autopay. So oftentimes we have missed opportunities that plague our daily operations. This is, where we potentially are showing a unit and we maybe don't handle the close as well as we should. And an example of that would be, let's look at it from a question and an assumption mentality. Sometimes just asking a customer a question will lead to a decision, and that can result in closing a sale. I'll give you an example of that here in a second. But if you assume the customer already decided to move forward with the sale and just act on that, the deal usually just seals itself. And what I mean by that is exactly in these scenarios that we currently are doing in our office today. You go through the process of showing a unit, you build the features, the benefits, and the value of the price for the unit, because that's what we do. We build value of the price that we're going to quote them when we quote them the price, but we should build value before we actually sell the actual unit. So we've done our job, we've showed the unit, and we're out there on the facility, and we are also awesome managers and sold ourselves. If we just ask the question, would you like to rent this unit today? All that's going to do is trigger a response from them, which ultimately ends with multiple questions or even questioning whether or not the decision's right for them today. So we can look at that as not the wrong way of doing it, but not the best way of doing it. So let's versus that with the assumption, which is we've done our job, we know it's the right unit for them, and we just make a simple comment. Let's go back to our office and get you signed up for that unit right away. That's a more confident way of closing a sale. You know you have the right product. You know you're the right choice for them. You've built the value. Let's go sign up for that unit right now. This is an easier and better way of closing a deal because it assumes that the customer's already made the decision, putting them in the right mind frame, the mindset and the frame of mind that you're just assuming that they want it, often just makes them make the decision at that moment. Yeah, let's go do that. Another great example of that in a different way is with our insurance. Once you go through everything, you ask them, do you want to sign up for our insurance? We have a $9 plan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That tactic works less than what we absolutely know with undeniable proof from our most successful insurance offers in their company who do something versus in the assumption category as this. Your rental rate will be $79, which includes $2,000 of insurance coverage. You're just assuming the value of the insurance is enough for it to be included in the price, and most people will never even question it. It's required for them to rent there with us anyway. It leads to further discussion, which we can sell bigger and higher plans. But just assuming that they want to protect their belongings, which most people do, or they wouldn't be there storing it, leads them to make a decision easier than asking them the question whether or not they want insurance or not. So let's tie that to the actual auto pay process and including that in the sale. So extending the offer to sign up for auto pay is no different than those previous examples. It's how we approach it. It's making it all about the convenience for the customer, just assuming they understand that convenience and not having to ever worry about being late. But the most important part of this is you just have to assume they want it. So in the same question and assume category here, we have the question: would you like to sign up for auto pay? That's not as good as assuming that they want it for the value of it and say, I just need your credit card info for payment and we'll go ahead and sign you up for auto pay. This category of assuming puts it in the mindset of the customer of, well, most people won't even think about it and just allow it to happen. That's a given because people are on autopilot during this process. But the ones who do think about it will most likely think, oh, this must just be required. For the ones who don't want it, they're absolutely going to say something. They're absolutely going to say, no, I don't want to sign up for it. We have ways around that as well. But to put your mindset from no longer, here's what I have to offer, do you want it? Let's get you is the more assumed nature of the thought process behind the way you assume people want something that you're selling. Let's sign you up for that unit. The insurance is included, the rental rate is $79. It's including $2,000 of insurance. And in this instance, auto pay is, I just need your credit card information for payment and we'll go ahead and sign you up for auto pay. This will lead to more successful sales in general using this tactic than any other method you'll ever use. This benefit should also be extended to our current customers. We shouldn't just assume that only our customers going forward want this. We want to assume that our current customers haven't taken advantage of this because they don't understand the value of it. We have the opportunity to inform our current customers as to why it's valuable for them to sign up for autopay. And to give you perspective here as to why this is important, I want to make you understand that our time is valuable and we need to decrease the amount of time we spend on the phone with current customers taking payments. There's some information I'm going to share here in just a second, but you have to understand that this information is so diluted because we've only pulled this information from what we know of our call center currently, because we can easily track all this information. These numbers that I'm going to share with you are well more bloated, but it's the truth. We spend more time, if you really think about it, dealing with our current customers taking payments than we do just about anything else. It's either in office or over on the phone. And once we get monopolized with that time with them on the phone, it usually takes more than just taking a payment for them. Every single call that would be coming in that is for a potential sale is lost. We lost it completely. They're going to pick up the phone and call someone else. It's also just timely for people to make an effort to set up auto pay in this world to where they don't have to come into our offices. So let me give you some statistics and the reason why we are making this push. It's just kind of some of the reasoning here. Currently, with our call center, we're able to track this information. 20% of calls to locations are for payments. That means 20% of all the time that we're spending on the phone is spent dealing with a customer taking a payment. That time that percentage has to be bloated because we're not able to track that at the facility location. I know you're sitting there thinking, yes, I take a lot more calls than 20%. So we know this number is easily 35%, 45%. That time is all missed opportunities for new rentals and sales. That's a fact. We know this. We know this because we know how many missed calls that we have tracked at the call center. We know how many we actually take and we are able to close on, and we also know how many we've missed. Just complete missed opportunities. Yes, some of those people might have been just trying to make a call to make a payment, but the reality is we know for the percentage of rentals that we're getting that some of those are missed opportunities for a rental. And most importantly, the customers need to understand that this benefits them and it prevents us from implementation of additional fees. It's already industry standard, and not just our industry, just in general. Any large entity that is set up for customer service that also has the opportunity for billing and taking a payment. How many times have you called a credit card company to make a payment because of a dispute or an issue, and they tell you, well, you can go online and make that payment yourself, or I can do it over the phone, but it's going to be a $5 fee to do so. The reason they're doing that isn't for a monetary gain necessarily. They're doing it because they understand the value of their people and what they're paying to be better utilized to increase their sales. And that's where we're missing our opportunity. So we do know some of our REIT partners are implementing a $5 over the phone payment fee, and it's to discourage those people from calling in, because we have multiple avenues for customers to take care of this themselves and not continue to monopolize our time that we could better use for sales and rentals. We have our online pay, which is another option. This option should be reserved for that person that says, no, I don't want to sign up for auto pay. Well, so I understand that, but I really want to get you committed to a sign up for something that gets you paid so you're not late. Talk about the benefits of that. I may not be in the office when you do want in if you're not paid, and you won't be able to get in without a payment. Your unit will be overlocked after the first day of the month, and you may be inconvenienced. You can go online and make a payment if you don't want to make it directly on the first. You can also set up for online auto pay. For auto pay as well. So explain to the people who say no that these are the reasons why we want to make sure that they are taken care of. It's for their convenience. It's so they're never locked out of the gate system, and it's so they don't get these late fees. You can use a real world example to someone who's renting a giant unit. You're going to be renting a unit that's $275. We're looking at $50+ as a late fee should you not pay on time. I want to keep you from getting that late fee. That's why I want to sign you up for auto pay. So just thinking about it in a different way. The auto pay should be included with the assumptive sale. I know many of you have heard the words of the assumptive sale many, many times. The reason those words exist together is because assuming that a customer wants it is the best way to sell it. And it's no different than any of the examples from renting a unit to offering insurance to now offering auto pay. It's assumed that they need it. It's assumed that they want it. Do you want to sign up for auto pay? It's not as going to be successful as, hey, let me get your payment. I need a credit card. I'm going to go ahead and get you signed up for auto pay as well. It'll come out on the first. That will lead to more successes with auto pay. And the reason for the push is that it's become very apparent that we waste man hours that could be better utilized for increasing sales than time that we spend on the phone with these customers making a payment. So that's that in a nutshell. Just want to make that an initiative going forward. Second you hear those words come out of my mouth, you should be starting this with your customer base. Let's move on to the lien process in Oregon. This could be very time consuming, but what I've done here is I've decided to condense this down. We have so much supportive information for you for the Oregon lien process, the lien process in general for Washington as well. It's all broken up into different sections, but I believe it's like page 114 to 148 is all dedicated to the late and lien process. There are details in there that will walk you through every single part of this lien process to where you cannot make a mistake. If you're a new manager and you've never gone through this process, go to our company intranet under manager login. Login is NWSS 2020 and review the lien process, the late process. It will give you all the details that we're just going to do a quick overview here. The other thing that supports us is our checklist. It prints out at the same time as the lien process does. It includes the lot cut inventory form. It's all ready for us to move forward with this process. But the checklist is put there to support the lessons you learn in the manual. Not the manual, but the operations manual. You cannot fail if you use the checklist and actually put eyes on those items. What I'm going to do here is kind of give you the 10,000 foot view of restarting this process, because as you're aware, and we'll go through this, the lien process as of September 30th, 2020, the moratorium on commercial evictions has been lifted. This means that we can now move forward with our late processes within certain parameters. We can charge late fees for October and future months, send lien notices to tenants who go delinquent in October and future months, auction qualifying tenants with delinquency from October and future months. What we can't do is charge late fees for any month that fell within the moratorium period and send anyone through the lien processes for balances due prior to October 1st. So let me put a net clarity on that. As of September 30th, 2020, the moratorium ended. The moratorium period was between April 1st and September 30th. Any balance that was due or delinquent during that period from customers who did not pay, and most of our customers continued to pay. Let's not overlook that. Any in that period cannot qualify a person for an auction. We could not charge them a late fee. We could not harass them to pay their debt. But as of September 30th and going forward, any further delinquency would qualify them. What that basically means is if someone as of October 1st does not pay their rent, then come November 1st, still no pay of rent through October. We're not counting the previous months that they owed, because they probably do. We're counting October going forward. On November 1st, when the lien letters print out, we can send them a lien letter. And during the month of October, we can give them a late fee. We can call them asking for them to pay their October rent. They have until March 31st, 2021 to repay the debt that's owed during the moratorium period of April 1st through September 30th. But we can't count that debt in anything that we take them to lien for going forward. The only debt that we can count is months past October 1st, so October and on. Now, the caveat to that is if someone pays in October and pays in November and pays in December and January and February and March, we cannot keep them from coming in to our facility. We can't overlock them. Their gate should be unlocked. SiteLink makes that difficult for us because there's no precedence for this. Because they still owe a debt, it considers them past due even though they paid current months. And we've sent out a letter which explains how to do payments on current months. But because they're current after the moratorium period, we legally are obligated to allow them access. But any time after October 1st, going forward, that they go delinquent and it qualifies them after 30 days for a lien notice, qualifies them for auction after 60 days, we can move forward with the auction on that debt alone. Just want to clarify that. So let's walk through the late to lien process and just the late to lien and the timing, really. And again, the manual has from 114 to like 147, 48 pages, page number there that walks you through this. And if we spent all the time going through that, we'd be here for 3 hours. So I'm kind of giving you just kind of a kickstart to start getting the gears running with the late process again. So how it works as it is now is day 1 through 30. We have rent is due on day 1. Day 2, the gate is locked out. Day 5, SMS late reminders go out, are prompted, and then you send them out. During the first 10 days, late calls must be made and noted in the tenant's notes. Day 11, late fees apply, $20 or 20%, whichever is greater, and our overlocks go on our units. Day 20 through 30, you need to make 2 additional calls. Now, I put a little thing down here just to mostly remind me, but email reminders should be used if we have a valid email on file. Those emails and SMS messages should be in addition to the 2 required phone calls. We are required to make phone calls to these tenants to collect debt. It's very important. And part of our housekeeping is, we'll get to at the end of this, is those late calls and what you can and cannot do. So during the first 30 days, we must, during that period, have 2 attempts to collect a debt documented in SiteLink by phone call, not just SMS and email reminders. Those are secondary. We must have 2 phone calls. Day 31 through 60. Day 31 through 35, we process the lien letters and the auction checklist. You're going to begin filling in the checklist. It's going to guide you through the process and keep you from making a mistake. And if you put eyes on this correctly, you will not make a mistake. We're going to send the lien letters through certificate of mailing using the form. And then the day 50 through 60, we're going to do additional late calls. We can't let these people just fall off. We have to keep reminding them. The further along in debt that they get, the less likely they are to pay. We catch them early, they're going to pay what they owe. Then you're going to submit towards the end of the month the auction lot cut information to your group leader. This, of course, is communicated, and there's much working on in the background that we're trying to get in order because some of these dates are going to change. We just have to for what's going on. They'll reach out and let you know, here's the date you need to get this information to me. 60 plus days, we're going to cut the lock. We're going to do an additional attempts to contact the tenant prior to the auction. We're going to submit the auction to the online auction site, and we're going to do eventually the online lien auction sale. So that's the process and timing in a nutshell. One thing that's changed, I just put this little notification here, is that on the December auction we had set for a date that's not this date, but we're going to move it to this date. For all Oregon auctions, we should have the auction date set as December 18th. This would be anyone qualifying who hasn't paid us through October. They would be going to sell on December 18th. And the reason behind this is that it's just aligning oddly for the way the papers submit and then Christmas holiday time, and also to give us enough time to do all the lot cuts that we're going to need to do. I put this here as a secondary, like, I want you guys to understand this. Lien notices must be mailed, period. There's no exception to this. It's come to my attention, and we've skirted by and been lucky that some people have only utilized email to send lien notices, but that is not a decision that our company has made. Lien notices are a little more critical for us. We want that to print out, because that's what you're getting is a printout. It's designed to go in our number 10 or 9, I can't remember, envelopes. It's designed to go in that envelope to be sent with a certificate of mailing form. You can send a copy through email, but that copy we are not counting as a legal copy. The printed and sent through snail mail is the copy you have to send. How you qualify for a tenant for auction, I just want to kind of walk you through the process. What makes sure that they actually get to an auction process and what you would disqualify them for. So qualifying a tenant for auction is a process that we can never relax on, period. It's the area we have the most potential for a nosebleed. It's the area that's going to get us sued the most, is when we accidentally send someone to auction who shouldn't have gone to auction. The auction checklist is there to outline each point that we need to verify prior to the lien sale. Utilize the checklist. You're not going to go any wrong on this. But let's just go through some of the highlight areas here of what qualifies someone. The rental agreement. We need to check that we actually have a valid rental agreement and that it is signed by both the customer and the manager. That can be an e-sign form, or it can be in an old paper form in a file. Military status. You check for the military status and cancel if marked as active. if anything else is worse than the other nosebleed we have, which is selling someone that we shouldn't, it's selling a military personnel who's protected federally. So we need to, if we question at all, we stop the auction, we communicate with our supervisor and stop the auction. That's a huge check mark on this one. We may do a background check here on this person, a military check to see if they're actually still current military or not, and determine that we could move forward. But I'd almost even move through a new cycle if this is decided during this lien process. Verify that the lien notices were sent 30 days prior to the scheduled auction and that it was sent to the last verified address for the tenant. What this means is that we need to verify and check that the last known address that the customer has basically certified with us in some form, either it the old way of doing a change of address form. If they've changed their address, it could be just what's on the lease. If it's the only known address, it must match what they signed last. They did have the ability in the past to go online and change their information themselves. If you see a notation in the notes section that says that they changed their address, that would be fine as well, and use the address that's on the account because that's what they've changed it to. But we just need to make sure that the address we're sending it to is the absolutely last known one that we have that the customer has signed off on giving us. Unit tag and overlock. Verify that the unit tag and overlock are on the unit and match the lot cut form. I don't know how many times I've heard that someone took my tag off my unit. My overlock's still there, but my tag's off my unit. And then it got retagged, but it didn't jive with the lot cut inventory form. Okay, that's an issue. It's an issue because what we want is the consistencies from the day that we cut the tenant's lock off to the day the seal goes on and we all were there to witness it and take pictures, that no one's gone in that unit. If a seal has come off or been changed for some reason and it doesn't tack back to the lock cut inventory form, that can get us into a world of hurt if a customer comes in and doesn't see that information jives. Our people who buy on auction websites actually want to see that information tie as well. So verify that is accurate. We need to make sure we have 5 photos showing the contents of the unit prior to sending it to auction. 2 notifications of lien sale that have been published 15 days and 7 days prior to the auction date. So this is basically notifications in the paper that you'll be sending your information to your auction group leader. Verify that there has not been a payment on the account for at least 2 months. Now there's a caveat to this, which is, yes, we take partial payments. Yes, we agree to take hold sales potentially for promise of a payment. But understand that these just need to be looked at as a baseline, that it's typically 2 months where someone hasn't paid before we send someone to auction. It's now 3 months really, because someone doesn't pay in October, we send them a lien notice on November, and we're auctioning them in December. So it's 3 months technically, but they need to be at least 2 months delinquent. If you check notes into a system and you see that someone has made a payment or we've promised not to, obviously we're going to honor anything we've promised. But if you have any questions, always discuss this with your supervisor. Verify that there are 2 notes showing attempts to call tenants to collect owed balances. This is on top of emails or SMS reminders. It must be 2 actual phone calls. We covered that already. Online auction. Verify that the online auction information is accurately displayed. That's not just when you're submitting it. That's before you send the person to sell. That means if someone's in their truck, they've bought the unit, and it's over with, you should be verifying that everything was accurate, because any wrong step in any direction can get us in trouble, and we would absolutely cancel it for any reason and tell the person, I'm sorry, but we made a mistake and we have to cancel the sale of the unit. This is the truest statement I can make here. The lien process requires thorough scrutinization every single time. We can never relax on this. It is, again, the biggest potential nosebleed we have that will get us into the most legal problems that we could ever get into. So again, that's just, again, the quick view. You have resources and your supervisors who are going to be with you every step of the way during this restart of our lien process. We've already identified all the tenants who were affected by the moratorium period and have delinquent balances. They have paperwork on hand. They're going to be showing up at your offices and going through the lien letters with you, because we're going to be changing the language in the lien letters and wording it to remind people that they don't have to pay on the balance until March 31st. That's prior to October 1st. But they do currently owe and can go to auction for balances going forward in future months, after October and future months. They're going to be there to help you make sure that we want extra eyes on this. My back's been checked on this. The person who checked my back's been checked on this. We're checking the supervisor's back on this. The supervisor checking your back on this, and so far and so far. This is very critical for us moving forward. So you have resources here. You have resources in your supervisor. You have resources in the manual. You have a checklist that's going to keep you from making a mistake as long as you go through that checklist and actually utilize it. So the rest of the webinar here is just a couple of housekeeping items I'm going to cover very, very quickly so we can be done with this webinar. And the time, I know it's eking out a little more time than I expected, but it's just a lot to cover. So the additional items are just kind of some housekeeping items that I've become aware of that I just want to clarify and make sure we're all on the same page. But late calls, I said I mentioned this earlier that I would clarify this. When you're actually calling a tenant to collect on rent, there are some rules that we must follow. And I've heard this in multiple times when I'm in offices and I might hear someone say something that I'm like, ugh, I wouldn't have said that. You cannot share personal information about the unit, the person, anything when you leave a voicemail for a customer. Most of the time you're getting a telephone number that doesn't say the customer's name. Even if you do get a phone that says the customer's name, you should not leave details on that voicemail. It's a no-no, like I can't even explain. If you receive, and a lot of times it's just 50, hey, you've reached 503, 544, whatever, and you don't even know if you're actually reaching that customer anymore, and you're now just leaving a random voicemail with information about something that person who may have a new phone has no idea what the heck you're talking about. What you say is as simple as this when you reach a voicemail. Hey, this is Paul, Northwest Self Storage. I'm doing a courtesy reminder call. Please give me a call back at 503, blah, 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 blah. That's the only thing you should be leaving on a voicemail, period. Anything else can get you and us into serious trouble. On that same vein, you can only communicate with the tenant associated with the rental. If you're calling David because he signed the rental agreement and you reach Anna, his wife, and she goes, oh, this is Northwest Self Storage. Oh, hey, well, yeah, I know he owes it. How much does he owe? I'm sorry, but he's the only signer on the account. I can't share that information with you. Could you ask him to call us back at his convenience? Do not share that information with anyone else but the person who signed on the account. That is very, very important. Can you imagine calling up someone and saying, hi, this is Paul at Northwest Self Storage. I'm trying to reach David. His rent's due at our location, and it's his wife who doesn't even know he has a unit. Now, yeah, I've realized you might be saying, well, can you tell him to call Northwest Self Storage? We need to talk to him about an important matter. Might spur that conversation. Anyway, if he's keeping secrets from his wife, yes, it will, but it's not our problem at that point. If you say, hey, he's renting 266, he owes $275, he's late 2 months. That's none of her business. That is the tenant's business. Do not communicate any information to your tenants, to anyone who's not your tenant or that's associated with the rental. And most importantly of all, when you're doing late calls, leave detailed notes about what's happened. If it's just a voicemail, say left voicemail on, left message with voicemail. That's all you need to say. But if you talk to the customer and they said they're going to be in on Friday to pay, or you're talking to them because they're struggling, leave the detailed notes. It's so important now that we have a call center. You cannot fault a call center for making a decision to help a customer if you've not left notes to tell them not to do something. They're there to do customer support because you didn't answer your phone. And if you haven't left notes in the tenant's account to let them know that you decided on something that you don't want to do for this customer, then the call center is going to use their best judgment, and we give them the right to do that, to help that customer in that situation. You can't get hurt over something that you didn't do enough to let someone else know. And that's not just for our call center, that's for the next person that's going to work in your facility as well. Leave detailed notes about calls. If your tenant's done anything, leave detailed notes. If you've decided you've given them enough waived late fees and you're no longer going to do it anymore, leave detailed notes. So the call center and anybody else who works your office will know those are the decisions you've made. Another housekeeping item is late reminders, SMS late reminders. The 5th day SMS late reminder is the only authorized SMS message that we currently use. All others should be discontinued. I've gotten wind of people utilizing the SMS system to send late reminders that we have no visibility of. This is a huge no-no. We as a large company have consistency for a reason. It supports our brand and it supports what we want to say as a company to our customers. You choosing to send your own personal SMS late reminders or a message just to talk to a tenant through our system is not something that we authorize you to do. We need you to stop doing that immediately. The 5th day SMS late reminder is the only authorized SMS message that we are currently using. There are plans to utilize SMS better, but we need to do that as a whole so the consistency is that way across the board. That goes for everything. That goes for anything that may be a one-off customization for your location. It shouldn't exist. If it works for your facility, it should be working for all of our facilities, and that decision comes from the corporate office. So one-off messages, personalized messages in any way, shape, or form, we need to eliminate doing that. We need to have that be something that is controlled so brand consistency is there. Call center. You got to let the call center know when you're out of your office for extended periods of time. Their call volume increases and they don't know that you're not coming back. So if for some reason you leave it for half a day, something happens, you have to let the call center know this. I'm right next to the call center in the office, so I'm hearing these calls, and oftentimes what happens is they get on a call and get into a long conversation with a customer about a problem that you are better to handle, you're more equipped to handle. And they will say, well, it's been a while, we've been on the phone now, let me see if I can reach the facility. And most of the time they can, because now you're free because you were on a call or doing a rental. And then they just join the call, explain what they've talked about, join the call, and then you as the manager takes over. But that's going to be falling on deaf ears if you didn't even let them know that you're going to be out of your office. So it's important for you to let us know at the call center, and that's at hello@nwselfstorage.com. Let them know that you're going to be out of your office for any extended period of time. No, you don't need to let them know if you're out on the lot cleaning or dealing with a customer or anything like that. This is for unexpected leaves in any way, shape, or form that you will be out of the facility for an extended period of time. So that's all I have for my little housekeeping items. They're just things that have come up that I've known about for a little while. We as a company have known about that we just want to make sure to clarify. And obviously with the call center, it's just new initiatives. Because of the convoluted nature of the webinar and the 3 different topics, I won't do a recap. I do want to just quickly mention the main initiative for this webinar is the pay online and making it part of your sales tactic. I think that the way we've shown you how to increase your efficiency there is very valuable. And like I said earlier, the second you heard my voice, this should be practice going forward. We've seen great successes with the idea of an assumptive sale. Especially when it comes to insurance, we see no reason why it wouldn't be valuable to put that auto pay in the same way. As always, guys, I appreciate you greatly. We all appreciate what you do for the company, and we will see you soon. All right, take care.